caption on the bottom, please. Good evening, good night, wherever you are. We are back once again in the Champions Table on Love Bay Radio. Welcome, Love Bay family. I'm here with you today, your host, Nigel Hunter, and we have a special show today. We got a special guest today, our first ever. These are our first ever for this topic, couples or marriage goals or marriage couple goals. And we got two special guests, and we got this amazing couple, Dwayne Holness and Tracy Holness. They are with us today. So let me give you a quick bio about it, okay? Quick bio about who we got as our special guest. So Dwayne Holness is a visionary entrepreneur, creative storyteller, and founder of Corex Creative, a digital media agency built at the intersection of culture, innovation, and impact. Born and raised in Toronto, Dwayne's journey hasn't followed a straight path, but it's been forged through resilience, reinvention, and deep belief in the power of storytelling to shape perception and drive change. From humble beginnings and a few wrong turns, Dwayne redirected his energy towards purpose-driven work. Today, he helps brands, creators, and change makers craft narratives that connect with audiences on a human level. He's built Corex Creative not just as an agency, but as a movement that empowers others to take ownership of their voice and vision. Whether he's behind the camera, in the boardroom, or on the mic, Dwayne brings authenticity, depth, and a commitment to helping others rise. Dwayne Holness. Now, Tracy Holness is a powerful voice in the space of personal transformation, emotional healing, faith-based growth, with a journey rooted in breaking generational patterns and reclaiming identity. Tracy brings a grounded, soul-centered perspective to conversations about love, wholeness, purposeful living. She speaks with clarity, emotional intelligence, quiet authority, drawing from a lived experience and deep inner work. Known for her ability to hold space and truth and healing, Tracy offers meaningful insights into what it takes to build authentic, emotionally safe relationships, starting from within. Whether in a personal conversation, podcast interviews, or public speaking, her presence invites others to reflect, realign, and rise into who they are and who they were always meant to be. So please join me in welcoming Dwayne Holness and Tracy Holness to the Champions Table.
Wow. Thank you. What an introduction.
No problem, man. No problem. Happy to have you both here. Happy to have you both here. Welcome. You know, first and foremost, there's something that we do when we have our guests in the building. Well, I can do that. You know what? I'm going to ask you guys how you're doing first and foremost. So how you doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing well. I can't complain. Life is blessed.
Good.
Yeah, no, and you know, life is amazing. It's been quite a journey this year. I think there has been a lot of movement, upward movement. So, you know, we're just giving thanks for all that we have, and you know, keeping the train going.
That's what's up. Okay, so there's something that we say at the Champions Table. We say men talk, women talk, but the truth can't lie, and the truth will set you free. So that's how we do it. We started off with that. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to get right into it with our first question on these marriage goal questions. All right, so y'all are in the hot seat, as they would say. All right, so this first question we're going to ask both of you. Whoever wants to go first is fine. So the question is, what were some of the necessary? I know we start with the hot one first, eh? You know,
you're coming straight out the gate right now.
All right. So, what were some of the necessary internal work you did before meeting each other? So, who wants to go first?
You know, I think when it comes to the internal work, when it's a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey of continuous work. So the work's never done, And over the years, running the streets, doing what I do, all the craziness, I've learned from a lot of my mistakes, which I think is the biggest thing that led me to this point here. It allowed me to grow in certain ways, and mature in certain ways as well. So, the healing really started like since I was born, really, because growing up in like, I born in Jamaica, grew up in Gin and Finch, so a lot of trauma has been built over the years.
Mm.
And there had to be a moment where I faced those traumas and started to slowly heal. So the healing process really started when I made that decision. And then having great people in my life, having therapy in my life really helped me shape myself first and heal myself first in order for me to be able to see the beauty in things, right? Because I think an unhealed person cannot see the beauty in the rain.
Okay. I like
so I really focused on the healing part of it, and ever since then I was able to beautify every space that I walked in and just been able to appreciate things a lot more.
Okay, you said a lot there. I want to go more in depth. I'm gonna leave it down. I'm gonna come back to that. Okay. And Tracy?
Yeah, I similar to what I agree what he said. Like the healing journey, it's a lifelong journey. It's not something you just start and then stop. A lot of us, we have these experiences in life that will cause us to, feel hurt or feel trauma, and then those things can really sit in our subconscious mind. And sometimes we don't even realize it until we enter into a new situation where we react in a certain way that you're like, oh, why was I triggered? And that's when you realize you can point it back to some some traumatic situation in your childhood or in your young adulthood. So for me, a lot of it started, honestly, in my early 20s. I started my healing journey. I moved abroad, go on an eat, pray, love type of journey, trying to really discover myself, discover who I was, get out of my comfort zone, and go see the world, because I was really shy. I didn't really speak a lot. So with each phase of my life, it's just kind of understanding where I'm at. So developing that emotional intelligence and understanding where I want to be. I didn't want to be somebody that was shy, right? So I picked up and moved abroad just to open myself up to new experiences, right? And then 3 years ago, I realized, okay, when I started to really develop a relationship with Christ, I realized, okay, there were some behaviors and mindsets that I had that didn't really measure up to who I was called to be. So now it's identify what is the root cause of that. Because we're not born angry, you're not born jealous, we're not born insecure. These are developed. So understanding why am I that way? And just honestly, and now I'm in marriage. So understanding who I show up as marriage and who I want to show up as, and just working towards that person.
Wow. Okay.
So
Okay. Okay, so those are some heavy gems. All right, I'm gonna try to bring out some of the gems I heard. So you traveled, right? So seeing the world, so that you're not seeing something through one-sided context, right? You're seeing the world in the big sense of it, right? And then I heard from you also in the sense of you started the healing journey by yourself first, and kind of pinpointed the things in you, not just for the other person, but for you, in the sense of making yourself the best you can be, so that when you meet that person, you are your best self, if you want to call it that. When you said some key stuff as well, you said that your perspective or your mindset changed, where you started to view things in a positive sense, in the sense of optimistic sense. I know I can relate to that as well, because I spend a little bit of time, in Jane and Finch. But when you hang around people who constantly see things from a negative perspective, as you said, quotable, it's hard for you to see the good in the rain, right? So that's a powerful statement, and the way we take that. And so let me ask you guys this, because you've given some practical gems. What would be one practical gem each of you would give before you meet that person? What would be a practical gem you could give to some people who are in that? Because you gave some real good stuff right now, but I'm thinking, like, is there something
Yeah.
that, okay, yeah.
I would say the the practical gem would be to allow people to be who they are. I think sometimes we try to control the way we want to see people, and then we get upset because they don't show up the way that we want to see them. But if you can have that view, and this is the same optimistic view where, you have to see the beauty in people's flaws, because everybody's flawed. And I think when you come from that perspective, you're able to appreciate the flaws from people. And that's what I had to, because I mean, for me, especially as men, like we get super picky sometimes. We want this, we want that, we want this. Our women have to be like this, or this has to be, they gotta cook, they gotta clean, they gotta show up, they gotta make money, and we put all these unrealistic expectations.
You said it, yeah.
And then, we just can't see the beauty of that person for who they are. So, I'd say to really just be able to appreciate the flaws in people.
That's real. Okay.
Okay, and for me,
yeah, of course.
that was a good one. Another really good
equal
one.
rights, man. Equal rights. Everybody gets an opportunity to share.
That's a good one. Another good one I would say is really learn humility and really to have a growth mindset. Because if you are wanting to come together with somebody, especially as you get older, you can't just be like, oh, this is how I am. Well, if you're trying to learn to work with somebody, you have to be humble. You have to be able to really listen to that person when they say, like, hey, this is affecting me. You have to be willing to learn to compromise, but learning to compromise comes with humility and not thinking that you're always right, because you will butt heads, so it's just really having that growth mindset and be like, I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow, and be open to that every step of the way in life.
That's what's up. So our global family, I hope you guys are writing this down or putting this somewhere. I know you can hear the recording again, but this one, take this in right now. Yeah. Some good gems. Okay, so we're gonna continue. So in your opinion, how did you both date intentionally? You see how I'm suing that you dated intentionally?
Oh, it's a good one because it's actually true. I think this journey has really been intentional. A lot of times, well, from my experience, I've got into friendships that turned into situationships, and it was just it just flowed. So it always ended up in the wrong space with we're thinking about different things. This time around, there was a lot of intention, and this was the intention to make sure that the steps that are being taken are first rooted in God, and then also making sure that the communication is clear. This is the first person that I have ever asked to be my girlfriend, for real.
Wow. Okay. Snaps. Can I snap?
The intention of vocalizing, vocalizing that this is how I feel and this is what I want. And in order for me to get there, I had to be intentional about my growth and where I am. Am I ready to take on such commitment? Because a lot of times we say things without commitment attached. So the intentionality comes in what you're committing to. And with commitment comes purpose, comes direction, and that's the hardest thing in a lot of our lives sometimes too, is like make a decision. Sometimes we have too much decisions and we don't make any.
Hold on. I gotta pause you. Well, hold on. We gotta take this in, especially for the guys, though. First, especially for the guys. Don't say things if you're not willing to commit to it. Okay. For the young cats out there who like to, peer lyrics, but everything you're saying you're not committing to. Learn that early. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Mm-hmm. That was amazing. Yes, Tracy.
So yeah, dating intentionally, it really boils down to knowing who you are, knowing what you want, and really being open to communicating that, and being confident to communicating that. For us, every step of the way, our communication was, I would say, is what really brought us along, is just that communication, and it gets stronger every single day. But that is the key. It's knowing who you are, knowing what you want, and having that everything rooted in God, and having that faith, praying every step of the way, asking God for confirmation every step of the way. And if God doesn't give you confirmation, being okay with like taking a step back, and that really is what dating intentionally for me when it came to him.
Okay.
Was. Yeah.
So it was also you confirming with Jesus, with your personal relationship with God, making sure that this is in alignment with that as well.
Yeah, keep in mind, when I asked her to be my girlfriend, she's like, let me think about it.
Wow.
Then the next day I got the reply.
Okay, so, wow.
I had to talk to God about it.
Was it a phone reply though? That's the question.
Well, it was a text message.
It was a text message reply, Tracy.
But then I didn't take that. That's when I didn't take that as full confirmation. I had to when I took her to the park, I gave her some flowers, and then I had to get the confirmation.
That's what's up.
Personal.
That's what's up. Yeah. I like that. So let me ask this question then. This is not on the notes, but when was the moment, Tracy, Dwayne? When was the moment you knew, like, Dwayne, you knew Tracy was the one, or Tracy, you knew Dwayne was the one? When was that moment? Because I know it doesn't always happen at the same time for both people and so forth. So that's my question for you guys. Like, when was that moment? When the stars aligned.
I think from our conversations. I think when we start to get to like have conversations about I was able to, there was a point where I was like super like confused and I needed someone to talk to, and she was there, and we were talking, and just our visions, the things that we wanted for ourselves, it really aligned. And then we started talking every day. And then I started to get into my creative mess when I started to try new things and wanted to do new things, and she was so supportive. And I think that was the moment where I was like, yeah, like I can do this.
Dope. Yeah.
For me, it was after an event that I was speaking at, and we went to celebrate. And after we went to celebrate, that was just how I felt. Like, his intentionality is the first time a man was like, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I see you in my plans. That was the very first time, just how intentional he was, and how open he was. Honestly, from the first time we met, he was just so open and so vulnerable, and that's very, very rare. It's very rare for a man to just be open. So then you feel safe. You feel like there's no hidden agenda. He was just like, this is who I am. So from that one time we went out to eat, to celebrate, from there I was like, okay, I could do this. Let's do this. I can see a future with this man, because he has a plan, and he's intentional, and he communicates, and he's honest, and I feel safe. Yeah.
That's powerful. Sometimes people in these situations will, especially in relationships, you're waiting for this big firework of a, miracle to happen. I asked God, and it rained on one side of my car. That's how I knew.
They started hailing inside.
Exactly, but this is like actual practical things that took place, that you guys made decisions based on practical, real, authentic
Yeah,
feedback.
but and then the thing is, it's I think also it's true. It's alignment. I think she was able to do the work that she needed to do, and I did the same. You know, I think we pass by the people who we can spend the rest of our lives with every day. Sometimes we just don't see it, right? And the moment you really start to really do that work inside, where, as I said, you can see the beauty in the rain, you can see that in people. You know, you can see their heart more, and you can see like the journey that they're on and appreciate the journey. So I think, you know, the moment when we started to connect was a moment where I started to see beauty, and that was her.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. Okay. That's nice. That's nice. I like this. I like this. Okay, so I'm gonna flip the questions a little bit. So Tracy, was there ever a list? Was there ever a list? I gotta ask the women this question. Was there ever a list?
There was
And
a
then,
list.
and then how did you prepare? Let's start with that. Okay, so was there ever a list? Yes, go ahead.
There was a list.
Okay.
So there was a list of like 30 things.
You said 30. Did you say
very
30?
detailed? It was 28. Actually, it was very detailed. Very, very detailed. Very, very detailed. And obviously that wasn't working. I was not having the best dating experience. And then I did a fast.
You check it with your lawyer and makes
yes, my lawyer. I got it notarized as well. And then I went on a fast. This was last May. I went on a fast, 25-day fast. And the fast was just about just healing. So understanding what's in my bloodline, just like things like anxiety was something I struggled with, just mental torment, depression, all those things. So it's just like understanding what is the root cause, and let's uproot all this. And at the end of the fast, I revisited my list, and it went from 28 to 4.
Wow.
Just 4 things. And it was just a man that loves Jesus and wants to continue to get to know him, a man that makes my head and my heart feel safe, a man that I know that I know that we are taken care of, our family's taken care of. And the 4th one is, I can't remember the 4th one, but anyways, it went from 28 to 4.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay. I'm gonna stop on something, because you said something. You said a man that makes my head and my heart feel safe. Let's break that down. What do you mean by that?
Based on just with my dating experiences, there's a lot of shadiness, a lot of lying, a lot of not really transparent, which I said before, that's one thing I appreciated about him, was his transparency, right? But a lot of, just in my experience, a lot of men were not very transparent. There's always something that was, and I could always tell, there's something you're holding back. There's something you're not telling me, and so because of that sensitivity, I would get anxious. I'd overthink, and sometimes it's just, we ask a question and just answer it honestly. And that's what he did. Any concern I had, any question, he's like, you can ask me anything. So anything I asked him, he never made me feel like, oh, you're doing too much, you're asking too much. He'd be like, no, I'd rather you ask me than you sit there and think about it and ruminate on it, So where in the past I never had that experience. So that's one thing I really loved about him, was that he really wanted me to feel comfortable, really feel safe.
That's dope. That's dope. Okay, we turn it to you now, Dwayne. So my question for you, and this is just has been my experience with you and just connecting with you, not only personally, but also, when I see you on social media and some of the things you post. So Dwayne, you consistently document and write your life journey and goals down. What did you write about your future partner? If you did, I'm just, that's my question.
Yeah, no, I didn't write, but I envisioned. And what I envisioned was someone that can allow me to be who I am, and someone who we can that wants to create change, that wants to make a difference, that wants to be able to be a better person. I think those were the things that were kind of me, because like I'm a person that is constantly trying to elevate myself, my mind, my heart, my spirit, and I wanted someone who wanted to do the same. So that was pretty much what showed up on my screen, and I was like, this is what I'm doing. So it all worked out. But yeah, I think the beauty of it is really just being able to have someone to talk to, and that's not really caught up in the clout chasing and the glamorizing on social media, and trying to be liked by everybody and all of that stuff. So I definitely loved a sense of exclusivity, that not everybody can just get to my woman. you know and yeah, those are some things that I really appreciated, because I'm very like front facing, I'm very out there, and it can get very stressful. So I want to come home to someone that I can just shut down to and just not have to worry about anything. So that for me was some of my things that I envisioned my life being. I'm in my soft era, and that's
Come
kind of
on,
just
come on.
that's
Yeah.
kind of just it. And so is she, and this is what we want to live the rest of our lives doing, is just being soft and being kind to each other.
That's what's up, man. That's great to hear too. Like this is a man who's in his soft era, and it's a good thing, and it's actually a positive trait. That's a positive trait. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Yeah. So I'm gonna ask something, and my questions are being switched around a little bit
That's
here.
okay.
It's
That's
all
okay.
good. I like how it's going because the flow is good. The flow is good. So. Okay, so let's go to this question. We're going to go to this question. So, hearing about your engagement, this is me telling you, hearing about your engagement, wedding, and marriage, the word that came to my mind was alignment, right? So, what gave you both the confidence to make the decision to marry each other? And I think you kind of answered that. You kind of answered that for real. You know what I mean? You kind of told us that. You know what? You surely did. But let me ask you, was it because you've said it several times, I've heard it, that you both felt that alignment with each other when you spoke to each other, when you talked to each other, when you spent time with each other, you really sensed that alignment. You guys want to talk a
Yeah.
little bit more about that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just for me, it was really how I felt. This was the first relationship that I've been in that I felt that safety,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt that calm, and I felt that like just tenderness and just that love, and that's somebody that's really trying to understand me, really trying to hear me, really trying to, and just also seeing how he shows up in the world. Like he's a light, he's a ball of love, and he's all about love, like just spreading love, being love. His heart is so open to the world. And I've never seen that. I've never had that before. So, you know, for me, it was just beautiful. And I just how I felt, like the way I've never felt before, is for me, that was yes, yes, yes. Check, check, check. Green checks, big green checks.
Yeah, I think sometimes I feel like when us men, it all starts with us. It really does. I think we can steer the ship. We're supposed to steer the ship. We're supposed to be leaders. We're supposed to be decisive. We're supposed to have the vision. We're supposed to be able to lead. So the alignment came with me actually feeling like I'm a leader. Actually feeling like I have to hold myself accountable to the words and actions that I put out into the world.
Mm.
And I had to make decisions. Sometimes we'll be dating for 30 years. I don't know what's going
Mm.
on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, but at the end of the day, a man, the one thing that I always heard is just like, when you know, you know. I never understood that concept.
Mhm.
I've dated here, there, left, right, center, up, down, around, and it never felt right. Always something felt off or missing. And that was God telling me I wasn't aligned. And this moment here, like, this is the first time I was like telling all my friends, I'm like, yo, I met this girl that I think it's the one. That's all I'm saying, is because like it felt so aligned that I already knew. Before I even told her, I'm telling my friends, I'm about to put a ring on it. Like, I'm doing all of this stuff
Down
already.
from the mountaintops, right? Yeah.
And I never understood the concept, but the concept is so real because as a man,
Mhm.
when you
Mhm.
first meet a girl, you know what it's gonna be.
Mhm.
You know how long you want it to go. You know when you know how you're gonna end it.
Mhm.
We are visionaries. So like anybody that comes into a man's life, we already have them in a category. And you know, and it's about really being honest with that, because once you can get honest with that, you'll be able to filter through the people who might not serve you the way you want to be served. And it gives you more time to find that, so then when you got that aha moment, that's it. Okay, I feel good. And then the decision is to lock in,
Mhm.
to actually say, yo, you know what, it's not going to be perfect. I can't expect to be perfect. I'm going to have to toughen up. I'm going to have to, like, being married is like a mirror put up in your face. You're going to see
Mhm.
all your imperfections. You're going to see someone that sees all your flaws, tells you what's going on, tells you how you're behaving, and you have to accept that, because that person's only speaking out of love, and
Mhm.
it's going to hurt you.
Mhm.
So a lot of us don't make these decisions because we're afraid to face ourselves.
Mhm. That's what's up, man. You said some powerful stuff. You know what? There's one thing that not one thing, but there's many more. But one thing I'm gonna bring up, and what I heard in what you were saying, that the man has to come already in purpose. That's what I heard you say without you saying it. The man has to come already in purpose. And I see that with you, Dwayne, in the sense of you are already in your purpose and living in your purpose. So it made this decision a lot more, I guess, easier to a certain extent, because you are already at that place. Not to say, we're always on a journey, right? But you are already living in your purpose. And it makes me think about when Adam was in the garden, and
Mhm.
and God was like, yo, tend to the garden. He didn't even, there was no Eve yet. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But he was like, yo, you got to tend to your garden. You've been tending to your garden before your Eve came. You know what I mean? I'm a give some shout outs. There's a message from somebody from Montreal, Mr. Dre. Andre says power couple. Um, from the UK, from London, UK. Shout out London, UK. They said great dating and marriage story. Thank you, Barb's. And then we got from Brooklyn, New York. First time viewer. Good job, Nigel. Grace from Brooklyn. Brooklyn, stand up. Brooklyn,
Okay.
stand up. Let's go. All right. This is great. This is great. All right, we're gonna continue. There's something I actually watched, and I'm gonna share it now. And I posted it on my Instagram. It's a gentleman that talks about making sure you have the hard conversations while you're dating, you know. And it was so important to me to hear this, in the sense of, the world has it reversed, or we should say society has it reversed, where they try to make, dating this fairy tale thing. But it's really about, digging deep and really finding out, who you are, who the person is, and having those hard and real conversations within the dating. And then you have the bliss when you're married, right? And you have those great pictures that you can post, and all those other things that you do when you're married, so I wanted to bring that up.
I agree with that. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
a lot of people are afraid to have those conversations up front because of the fear of losing that person.
Mhm.
If I say something that or they say something and we're not aligned, then it's going to end. So a lot of times that, you know, the conversations happen a year, 2, 3 years in, you realize, oh, we're not aligned. And I think that's one thing that he mentioned earlier, is that our conversations, we kept them real and we continue to keep them real, you know, just to ensure that we maintain, we are aligned. Because as humans, we change, you know,
Right.
we're always changing. So we're always checking in with each other to make sure that, okay, are we still, is this, you know, we said this is our goal, are we still heading in at this goal, you know, whether that be business, whether that be family planning, whatever that may be, you know, we're always making sure that we're having those conversations to maintain that alignment so that no one feels blindsided, you know.
That's real. That's real. Yeah. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. That is awesome. Okay, so there's a quote, and the quote says, where is it? Yes, it's right here. What does this quote mean to you? Now, so now that you're married, you know, now that you're married, whoop, 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 now that you're married, you know, marriage is an investment, not a solution. Marriage is an investment, not a solution. So what does that, what does that mean to you, you both, now that you're married?
I'll start. Marriage and the investment. So for me, that just goes back to marriage being a journey, you know, a journey of growth,
Mm-hmm.
a journey of, like he said, it's a mirror. So someone's holding up this mirror to you of areas that you may have your blind spots. You know, a lot of times, you know, people may think that marriage is the solution. Like, I'm going to be happy when I get married, but marriage is just the beginning. You know, it's a beginning of a journey. You know, a journey of love, a journey of growth, a journey of communicating, a journey of showing up for somebody. Even when if you don't feel like showing up for somebody, you have to be humble and saying, I'm here to serve. So it's a journey of serving, you know? So, and it's really investing in this vision with this person, for a lifetime,
Mm.
not just a band-aid solution to happiness. No, it's the beginning of a lifelong journey.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, now I got to put that quote. Did you guys hear the quote though? Investing in the person or the relationship for a lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, we got Trinidad and Tobago. 1 second, we got Trinidad and Tobago coming in. Mr. Bubba says, "How long must couples wait after marriage to have children?" Okay, we're gonna get to that, Bubba. We're gonna get to that. So you got, this is the first time ever I've had questions coming in. So this is good. This is good. All right, Dwayne, go ahead.
Yeah, honestly, I would say yo, marriage is one of the best investment in your personal development. I've grown so much in such a short period of time. Like, I've like fast tracked, and it's made me such a much more better person, much more empathetic to people, much more patient. You know, I'm able to tackle things, especially too as an entrepreneur, where I'm always out there. Things can get tough, you know, whether it's with people, with clients, and all that stuff. I even see myself being so calm with frustrated clients or like impatient clients, because I can actually like empathize with them, and I can give them words of love, you know, words that are fruitful to the conversations. I never once did that. You know, I never once had that grace that I have now. And being in a marriage, it's the ultimate investment, because you now are able to have an opportunity for someone to help you grow, and then in turn help each other grow, and in turn be fruitful and multiply in many ways, you know, in many ways, whether it's giving back, whether it's helping someone else, whether it's doing this and sharing experience. This is the fruit of marriage.
Powerful. No, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. Some gems. Okay, so our friend Bubba has asked the question to you both, and they said, "How long must couples wait after marriage to have children?"
I don't think there is a a timeline. I think each couple is different. That's something you talk about. And I think that's something you talk about. It's one of those hard conversations. How long do we want to wait? Do we want kids right away? Do we want, however long? So each couple, it just depends. It's a conversation you and your partner should decide. I
Nice.
think.
Yeah. And the thing is, for us too, like, we had those conversations, so we knew that we wanted to enjoy being newlyweds. We wanted to enjoy each other, like, first. We wanted to be able to travel together and really get to see the places that we've always wanted to see, because it, at the end of the day, it's about us. So we have to always remember that we have to be having fun. We have to be enjoying this journey together, and we have to be able to check the things off the list that we want to check off before that time. So, we definitely were intentional and still are intentional about making sure that we are putting our marriage and the enjoyment of our marriage first.
Yeah. That's good. Good gems. Good gems. This sounds like something you guys may have to do a little more often,
Yeah.
and answers, Yeah. That's what's up. So good. So let me ask this question, and I didn't ask this question before, but you guys talked about it, and I'm gonna ask both of you this question. So, how did you prepare for your partner? You talked about your internal work. You talked about these different things. Is there some, intentional things you did individually to prepare for your partner?
Yeah, for me, it was therapy.
So-
For me, I've been on a long journey of therapy, and just really, because we all know about cycles. We all have a pattern. We all have patterns in our dating life, in our life, and we keep going back to familiar things. And it could be in familiarity of trauma bonding. During my dating experience, I realized I was trauma bonding with a lot of people. And it took me therapy to understand what my own traumas are. And once I healed it, I could see that I'm no longer trauma bonding. I'm more now being intentional. So, therapy really helped me unravel those things that I've held on to for a long time. So my preparation was strictly like really having to step back and doing the work on myself.
That's powerful. Thank you, man.
Yeah. For me, it's just doing that journey of healing. I did therapy, I got a coach, but I would do not for a very long time. I would start, and then my therapist would be like, you're okay. Like, however, realizing now is that I wasn't being as vulnerable with myself and with my therapist as I could have been. And it's probably because of just more not being vulnerable with myself, not really understanding myself. And I think it goes back to what we said about marriage being a mirror. So there's a lot of things that I thought I had dealt with that I realized weren't completely dealt with after we got married. I got married, right? So I had to start that journey, not restart that journey, continue that journey with the understanding of like, okay, I'm being triggered. Why am I being triggered? And working through those things. So getting a therapist, but also like utilizing the skills I've used along the way as a certified coach to help work through those triggers, and also learn to communicate, hey, I'm feeling this way. Let's talk about it. Right. And I think so again, that's why I keep saying it's a lifelong journey of healing. I started my pre-preparation, and now I think, as he said, like I've grown exponentially since we got married, because just that mirror that holds up to the things that you didn't see before, those blind spots that you didn't see. It's like standing on a stage and there's a spotlight on you, and the spotlight on you is all the things you show your friends outside. That's all the great parts of you. But marriage is turning off all the lights.
Yeah.
Dust in the corner that you didn't clean out. Right? So we turned on the lights, and I was able to see that dust in the corner and just clean it out, and and I've just been, I've grown exponentially. So
That is good. That is good. Well, you guys are definitely starting a conversation here because we got Ade from Lagos, Nigeria.
Wow.
And we got another question. You see, it keeps coming. How far should couples allow in-laws to get involved? Is the question.
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go. You know, I've been very intentional as well in this space of keeping things between us. You know, I think, you know, because you know, you can tell your mother or your in-laws or someone something about that person, and they'll hold on to it forever.
Mm,
And we would have already forgave each other a long time of it.
right.
So, you know, I've been practicing making sure that whatever is inside our house, we keep it inside our house and we deal with it inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get anybody involved because they can take it and run with it, and then they'll hate you forever because of this one little thing when it was just a little like glitch in the system or something, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so I don't think I mean I don't think like that's a thing that we practice. You know, we really practice keeping it at home and not going to bed angry, and just making sure that we let it all out before we go to bed.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing creating healthy boundaries within your own relationship with your family as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Similar to what I was going to say, like this is a sacred space.
Mm.
Just protecting this person, protecting us, you know. And that's one thing. When you did ask about preparing for marriage, one thing I forgot to mention is I asked a lot of people who've been married for a very long time
Mm.
and still look happy. You know, you can kind of tell when, you know, like, you know, but I would ask them, give me some tips. One was communication. Every single one. I went to a nail salon, and one woman had been married for 50 years, and
Wow.
communication. Don't go to bed angry, like he said, but
Mhm.
also keep your business between you two, you know. And that, so I hold those things dearly. So very similar.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. So let me ask this question. So how do you guys deal with conflict? You know, so how,
Yo, it's not easy, you know.
when somebody stubs your toe, you know.
Well, it's honestly, it's not easy, and I think that's where we are learning to grow.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, you know, so we're still flawed, and we will get triggered by certain things that we have to deal with. There's sometimes we don't know how to say it, but I think the biggest way to deal with it is going to God with it. You know, we in hard times we pray.
Mm-hmm.
We allow God to come into that conversation and give us the words, give us the strength, and give us a perspective, and the grace of that. So sometimes we just go away and we just be in our corners for a little bit. And then when I hear the footsteps coming, I know it's time to talk.
You don't run? You don't run.
No, I can't run.
You run towards her. You run towards her.
Yeah, that's it. So, you know, it's not easy, but yeah, that's the reality of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's dope. That's dope. I like that. I like that. You know, and that's something that, it's one of the things where you have to be willing to know that not everything is going to be solved right immediately. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Give people the opportunity to calm down, to take time to think about it, and then, come back with a clear head, as they say. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's definitely important. That's definitely important. Hmm. Let me ask this question then. What advice would you give to, folks who are on that journey, engaged, about to be married, or just, they're with that significant other? What advice would you guys give?
Mine would be do the work.
Okay. Do the work.
Internal work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So start with the internal work, even before you're with that person.
Yeah. Everything starts with you.
Right.
Once you start growing and changing, your world starts growing and changing. Everything. So do that work, because once you do that work, then you'll understand yourself more. You'll understand what you want, what you need more, and then from there you're able to be intentional when you're dating, you know.
Mhm.
Able to intentionally select a partner, not out of fear, not out of insecurities, but like just know this is what I need.
Yeah. As you were saying that, one thing I would say is go outside, go for a walk, look at the trees, look at the birds, look at the sky, and appreciate it.
Mm.
I think everything starts with appreciating what God has created. And when you can appreciate the little things, the things that, sometimes we get so comfortable where we lose appreciation for things. You don't want that to be that person that you claim to
Mm.
love. You
Mm.
want to be able to look at that person in every form, their hair, their lips, their eyes, all the little things, all the imperfections, and be able to see beauty in it. So I would just say, like, learn to appreciate the small things. Learn to see beauty in the imperfections of life. And when you can do that, you can appreciate the imperfections of your partner.
Mm. That's some gems. All right. You heard that. Love Bay Radio Global Community, Champions Table Community, right? Do the internal work first, right? And learn to appreciate, have gratitude for the simple things. And then you will have appreciation and gratitude for your person. Okay. That is quotables. Quotables. Some good stuff. All right. All right. So let's get down to any final thoughts, final thoughts, final shares, you know.
Yo, honestly, like, like we just decided, right? And
Mhm.
and we're just going along for the journey. A lot of things that we did was against societal norms. We had the smallest wedding, we got married, we got engaged, and then a month later we got married. We've been like we were in a relationship like 3 or 4 months, and then we got engaged. So we fast tracked it because we were so
Mhm.
intentional. And it's the best decisions that I've ever made. So it's all about the intentionality and just going for what you believe in, and just understanding it's never going to be perfect.
Mhm, mhm. That's what's up.
He said it all.
Yeah,
Gentlemen.
yeah. So I'll tell you guys the behind the scenes on my. I was at a house with a couple of people, and I think it was a Friday. Was it a Friday? I don't know if it was a Friday. I think it was a Friday. I was at a house with a couple of people, and then I was in the kitchen and I hear this scream coming from the living room. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, Tracy got engaged. I'm like, what?
Yo, the whole world went
Yeah, the
crazy.
whole world stopped. Like, holy GH, Toronto just shut down, boy. It was like, what? And then, so it was pretty cool, From my perspective, I was like, man, this is exciting times, you know what I mean? So kudos to the intentionality of both of you. And just the journey that you have taken has really impacted so many people in so many good ways, to see that you guys lived in your lane, is the way I would say it. You lived in your lane, and you really did it the way that God intended, and the way that you wanted it. And we're seeing the blessings of it. We really are,
Yeah,
as those who are viewing, you know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah. And I just want to say, like, one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like,
Yeah. It doesn't have to be one more thing, by the way. But go
okay, but it's
ahead.
like, like, the thing about this journey and marriage and everything, sometimes we feel like we have to get the approval of
Mm.
everybody. Like, yeah, we got engaged. Like, people are like, oh, how come you didn't tell me? Da, 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 da. How come I had to find out online? Da, 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 da. We got married. Why wasn't I invited? Why did people felt entitled to feel like they had to be there. And I think that sort of thing can play in a couple's mind,
Right.
and then make them not do what God is telling them to do, because they're waiting. They have to get approvals from everybody and get everybody's opinions. But it's just between you and your partner, and that's it, and God, and that's it, and nothing else matters.
That's powerful. I hope you took that in, folks. Yeah. I hope you took that in. That's so important, because I know so many people are, especially the day, right? The wedding day is where, you spend so much time, or a lot of people spend so much time making everybody happy, and then by the time they get back, they're like,
they're drained. Hey, after our marriage, we went out to eat. We came home. We slept. We went out again the same night.
Yeah.
And our phones wasn't buzzing off. Like, we were just enjoying
each other.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And that's so very, very important. What was that?
No stress at all on that.
No
stress. It was perfect.
Yeah, as it should be. As it should be. So those of you who are, in that planning phase, or getting to that planning phase, remember these very important things. It's between you and your partner and God. You cannot, especially on that day, not everybody can be pleased. Okay. So stop trying to do it, because it's not going to work out that way. Please God, please.
In life. Not even just that day, in life. 100%. You can't please everybody. So that's why you got to keep this as a sacred space. Like, one of the best advice I got as well, find what works for you guys and do that. Do what works for you. You can listen to all kind of different advice. And of course, some of it, like there's really great advice, but that advice is also coming from people that are doing what works for them. So if that advice doesn't work for you guys, then talk about it and figure out what does work for you.
Amazing. That's amazing. So we on Love Bay Radio, we just, and the Champions Table, we just want to thank you both, Dwayne, Tracy, for being here with us. The Holness, the Holness. I'll play WH, the wholeness. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for being here and sharing your time with us. It's been a blessing for all of us listening, for the global community to hear your love journey as it continues on the Love Bay Radio. So I'm just gonna give a quick announcement. Join us tomorrow on Love Bay Radio, May 22nd, 8 p.m. in the Safe Room, where we have our host, Sean Williams, will be speaking with Elle DeLion. All right. She's a spoken word artist. She'll be on tomorrow at 8 p.m. And as we say on the Champions Table, men talk, women talk, but the truth can't lie, and the truth will set you free. Thank you for joining us. Have a blessed day, because, it can be all over the world. So have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.